I haven't had a black plumber, black electrician, black roofer, black HVAC, black painter, black floor person, not one black contractor who we paid to do the work ever finished what they got paid to do. Grace and peace, everybody. We're back. You saw the thumbnail. You saw the title. You know what we're going to do. We're going to talk about Umar Johnson. He was recently on a podcast here in Georgia, and I'm just going to call it like it is. Umar Johnson is down bad. And, I mean, shout out to this podcast. I don't know much about them, but this video didn't do well at all. I mean, it's not even like he's a name draw anymore. And given the fact that he's going to talk about this school, and I'm going to pull in some clips, and we're going to tap in with Poetic Flacco as well. There's no way this school has come together. I've said it before. I'm not just a hater. I'm not just some struggle streamer, YouTubian, whatever. There's just no way to make this happen, and somebody needs to say it. So I'm going to say it. My name is Jason. I'm going to say it. FDMG is a wrap. It's over. This is the year that he finally stops. In 2026, he's going to stop the grift. And real quick, I'm going to bring in Poetic Flacco, and I'm going to let him explain why I think not only is the grift up, but maybe there's going to be some legal issues coming up. Watch this.
Johnson made a really big mistake during this interview. He admitted to a literal felony. Not just any felony, though. He admitted to a federal crime. Interviews until the school is completed because he's done answering questions about the school progress. Umar Johnson is back doing interviews. The questions that Umar Johnson...
The reason he's back on interviews is because the money done dried up. He's charging $1,000, $3,000 per interview. So yeah, that's why he's doing these interviews, because he needs some bread, because the donations are drying up. But we'll see in a second. Watch.
Annoying and stopped doing interviews because he wanted to avoid, to me, were pretty normal questions. Is questions like, hey, you've been raising money for this school since 2014. Why haven't the school opened up yet? To me, you know, that's a pretty reasonable question.
Absolutely.
Well, Umar Johnson did an interview recently, and, you know, he was asked that particular question. And Umar Johnson's response dug him into a really big hole.
You know, we saw this kind of rumored around, and we wanted to get your thoughts on it. So critics say, obviously, you raised millions for your school, and after some time, about a decade or so, the school hasn't been up. So they want to know, what's the 2026 update on FG Academy?
First of all, anything a critic says about FDMG, I would like to know where they get their information from. Nobody knows how much money we raised because we never shared it. My circle is so tight that nobody in the public could know anything unless we share it with them. The only people we share information with are our donors. The big problem with the so-called FDMG controversy is the people asking the questions are not the donors.
Umar Johnson proudly admitting during this interview that the
Nasty
public
word.
couldn't possibly know how much he's ever raised because he never gave them the accurate number. He never gave them the real information. They don't have no clue. Shocked me. It has shocked me because Umar Johnson filed a 501c3. Umar Johnson is a nonprofit. He has nonprofit status. As a 501c3 organization, Umar Johnson don't have to pay taxes on the money he raised. But what comes with that privilege is transparency. You have to file a 501c3 and you have to disclose your current assets, the current cash at hand, how much you're raising each year, how much you have. And you have to publish this information because you are a nonprofit who don't have to pay taxes. So hence you have to report to the public and you have to put accurate information. Umar Johnson has skipped multiple years, by the way, of reporting, you know, on a 501c3. But if you're Umar and you have filed a 501c3 and you have given us what you claim is the assets you currently have, the cash in hand, and then you hop on a podcast and say, nobody knows the real number. You're saying, or you're confessing to lying on federal paperwork. You see, in a 501c3, Umar Johnson had to list himself as an employee. Umar Johnson would also say, though, that he has received $0 in employee compensation. He has received a $0 salary for all the years he's been operating. This 501c3 is from 2021. So Umar Johnson stated that he began the year with $518,000 in cash and ended the year with $572,000. So that would mean after all the money he done spent, after all, like everything, right? Like, like a remodeling, whatever, that he had a profit of almost $54,000. Now, Umar.
What I'm trying to understand is Umar, and this is for the Umar supporters. Umar keeps saying that the building is finished. The building was state of the art when he bought it. However, we got it at a discount. It was $13 million renovation before we bought it. All that kind of stuff like that. What is the work that still needing to be done? Like, it doesn't make sense. So if in fact what he was saying is true, I don't believe what he was saying is true. So therein is the problem. But keep it going, Fly.
Umar Johnson didn't really list anything else, but he was pretty transparent, right? He listed it as cash on hand.
Okay, so, and shout out to Poetic Flacco. Umar Johnson, I think he's going to end up putting himself in the trick bag as relates to what is he doing with these donations? If he's a 501c3, what is he doing? And is he doing the right thing? So let's actually watch the full interview and let's see what y'all think about it. Let's do it like this.
We saw this kind of rumored around and we wanted to get your thoughts on it. So critics say, obviously you raised millions for your school, and after some time, about a decade or so, the school hasn't been up. So they want to know what's the 2026 update on FDMG Academy.
First of all, anything a critic says about FDMG, I would like to know where they get their information from. Nobody knows how much money we raised because we never.
Sir, the school isn't open. I don't actually need to know how much you raised. I've heard fluctuating numbers from 1.5 to as much as $3 million. That's not my argument. Sir, the school ain't open. That's the information I have. At the current moment, I went by the school back in November. It's completely a ghost town. That's my question. That's it. What's the answer, sir? What is it?
My circle is so tight that nobody in the public could know anything unless we share it with them. The only people we share information with are our donors. The big problem with the so-called FDMG controversy is the people asking the questions are not the donors. The donors don't ask questions.
You're about to be overwhelmed with complete and utter foolishness. So please make sure your seatbelt is buckled and tight. Please make sure that your seat tray is in its upright position. This right here is some high-level copeology. This is some cope of the highest, most purest form. Watch this.
Their complete faith, complete support. 85% of our donors are repeat donors, which means they've been supporting us since the fundraiser began. The people who want answers are people who have no vested interest at all in the project. So I don't answer questions to people who don't have any vested interest in the project. You follow what I'm saying? I don't go around offering answers to people who don't have anything to do with what I'm working on, because this is a private Black community initiative. We don't owe them no answers. We don't take any federal money. You see what I'm saying? So, that's the problem, because they want us to be accountable to YouTube. They want us to be accountable to Instagram. They want us to be accountable to the struggle streams. I'm not accountable to nobody but our donors. So when donors have a question, they can call me and ask. And I know if they're a donor or not because we've recorded every donation we've ever gotten. Every one. You follow? So if you call...
Boy, if you think this rascal, after getting kicked off of Patreon, losing Cashapp, getting kicked off of GoFundMe's and such of that nature, if you think he has captured every donation that has ever been made to the school, let me tell you about the cope that you're taking in. This is some high-level cope. This is a military grade, weapon grade cope. Sir, be quiet. Be quiet.
Say, Doc, I wanted to ask you a question about the school. Sure. What's your name? When was your last donation? How did you make that donation? Let me confirm you. And you can ask all the questions you want. But if you're just a struggle streamer, you're just looking for content so you can just run with some negativity, I'm not giving you no answers. With that being said, let me clarify a couple things about FDMG. The fundraiser began on April the 12th of 2014 in St. Louis. Originally, we wanted to purchase the HBCU St. Paul's College in Lawrenceville, Southern Virginia. HBCU for sale, they wanted $2 million. A buddy of mine called me up and said, Doc, there's an HBCU for sale for $2 million. Of course, we hadn't even started raising money yet. So the fundraiser began. We lost. The Chinese purchased it. And I'm embarrassed that black people let another race purchase an HBCU built by our ancestors coming out of slavery. The Chinese have the St. Paul's. So we said, okay, we can't get St. Paul's. Let's keep on raising this money and let's try to just get a regular day school.
All right, so he's going to go in and tell this story. You all have heard this story before, so I don't even know if I'm going to even keep this in here because we've all heard the tales as old as time as it relates to Umar and these schools or the fundraising. But he's kind of overlooking the fact that, sir, you've been doing this for 11 years and you have no evidence. There's no Saturday school, no book clubs, no after school, before school programs, no summer camps, nothing. Just send me money. And if you're a donor, you can ask questions. That's all we got, sir.
So we started traveling all over the world. As I told you earlier, we almost ended up in Atlanta. The big issue with the early school search is once these property owners found out who I was, and let me be clear, most of the properties that we were interested in during our school search from 2014 to 2019 was Roman Catholic schools because they take good care of their property. I thought we were going to end up in Detroit also. Detroit had about 5 Catholic schools that we had enough money to buy. And once they found out who I was, they wouldn't sell. There was another Catholic school in Money Earned in Mount Vernon, New York. They wanted to lease it clean. I said, we ready to lease. They called the Vatican in Rome. He told me this. He said, half the Catholic schools in America are managed directly from Rome. I did not know that. So he had to call the Vatican and ask them if it was okay to lease the school to Dr. Umar. They said no. So a big part of the delay was we couldn't get nobody who would sell us the property that we wanted, right? So we ended up in Wilmington, Delaware. We bought the school in 2019, only 5 years. All black money, no white financiers, no white bank. Purchasing a school in 5 years from the people's money from the community, I see no problem with that.
A lot of people are arguing that lots of people have dug into the quote unquote purchasing of this building that is not truly bought and paid for. He still has a mortgage on it, all those kind of things like that. And that's not even the argument that I'm making. I'm just simply making this. There's no evidence that you're going to have a school. You have buildings, but you have you're not doing anything. You're not doing anything. You're not even running, a class on how to change tires. I'm shout out to the King Randall down here in Georgia or anything of that nature. You're just collecting money and saying you got a school. We got schools, but you really don't.
So we get to school in February 7th of 2019, and we've been renovating it since. February 7th of 2026 will be 7 years. This past Saturday, we completed all the renovations on the school. Why were we delayed so much? And I'm not even.
All right, so this is going to be very interesting how he tries to, he's setting y'all up for the next play. The next play is the school versus the city, the school versus the establishment, the authorities, the government. That's what he's trying to set y'all up for. So please pay attention.
I want to call it delay because I believe in divine timing. If it didn't happen yet, it wasn't supposed to. You feel me? That's my position. But if we want to look at this practically, the reason it took us 7 years to do the renovations is because the black contractors, I'm going to say it, the black contractors who we depended on to help us cross this finish line sooner, they scammed us, they robbed us, they never completed their work.
Man, that is a slap in the face to the black community because he keeps saying this is a black school, black money, black community. But then you sit there and say that every black contractor scammed you. Every black contractor. Man, come on, bruh. And that's why I can't mess with Umar, because I think Umar himself is a pariah to the community. And now you're throwing every black contractor that has come to help you, because initially, remember, he was asking for them to donate their time and their resources to help them renovate. And apparently they scammed him, allegedly, from but that makes no sense. And then so you started paying them and then it scammed you? That makes no sense, man. Why would somebody scam you if they got a business like that? Like, that makes no sense. Wilmington isn't that big. So if you scam somebody on one side, they're going to find out about it on the other side. This is just dumb.
I haven't had a single black contractor. Quote me on this. In 7 years, I haven't had a black plumber, black electrician, black roofer, black HVAC, black painter, black floor person, not one black contractor who we paid to do the work ever finished what they got paid to do. Not one. So can't nobody
That's crazy
say shit
work.
to me about how long it took us to get this job done.
I'm sorry, man. I don't even know all the contractors in Wilmington, Delaware. That is a slap in the face to black folk. But see, and this is the thing people get mad at me about. That's why I don't mess with Umar. I think Umar is a scammer. I think Umar himself is a scammer. And so now he's going to throw every black contractor, painter, plumber, electrician, and so forth under the bus so that he can keep his scam, his grift going. That's crazy work, man. That's a shame.
It took us long because of ninjas in the community who don't have integrity and work ethic.
Wow.
Now, do you believe you need any more help?
Well, as I said, we finished. The renovations are done. We got to dot a couple I's and cross a couple T's, and then we have to go for inspection with the city of Wilmington, Delaware. We don't know what's going to happen with that because they never thought we would finish. Now that we're done, we now got to fight them. Because remember, they tried to sell the school behind our backs this past summer. We had a vacant property registration fee bill that we should not have even owed because as a nonprofit, you're supposed to get a 4-year waiver. They didn't give it to us, right? I called them up to see if we can come to some type of an agreement. If you're not going to give it to us, say that and let us pay. The woman in the office told me she would call me back on 3 different occasions. Never called me back. I emailed on 3 or 4 other occasions. Never responded to my email. All of a sudden, I get a phone call, Dr. Umar, the struggle streamers on YouTube, talking about your school is about to be auctioned in 21 days. I said, this can't be true. I just checked the mail. We ain't got no mail saying they trying to sell our school. All our bills is paid up except that vacant property registration fee. So I called one of my supporters in Wilmington. I said, can you go past the school and see if there's another set of paperwork on the other door? Because remember, we own both schools, by the way, not 1, 2. We own 4 buildings. We own the block. Name somebody else in the black conscious community who bought a whole block. Nobody. I'm the only one. So anyway, the struggle streamer stole 1 set of paperwork. My supporter got the other set of paperwork. She took a picture of it and sends it to me, right? Guess what? If they would have took both sets of paperwork, if the haters would have took both sets of paperwork, I would have never knew that our property was going up for sale because the city of Wilmington did not communicate that to us. They would have sold that school behind our backs and we would have never even known. So when I tell you getting ready for this inspection, we might have to get ready for war. We might have to get ready for war.
I hope that
Do you really believe that?
that completes itself how it should, for sure.
It should. Either way, it don't matter. Yeah. My ancestor Frederick Douglass told us more than 100 years ago, no struggle, no progress. If they want a war, we give them one. If I got to bring 3 million black people to Wilmington, Delaware and march on the city, that's exactly what we do. If I got to take them to court and sue them for $5-10 million for constantly discriminating against us, that's what we'll do.
Why don't you sue the contractors that scammed you and prove that these people scammed you? I mean, that could work. I'm just, just something to consider. But in the comment section, do you really believe Umar Johnson could rally together 3 million people into Wilmington, Delaware to march on behalf of his school? Let me know. Maybe I'm missing something.
Whatever it takes. I'm built for it. I hope they are.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the JWhit Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.